Chelsea Football Club have got a couple of good results under their belt, but the reality is they're still looking for a manager apparently, and David Ornstein's come out with 4 names that are not going to be on that list. And when I tell you one of them breaks my heart, it breaks my heart because I really wanted this man in charge. Secondly, Victor Osimhen. Chelsea make official contact apparently with Napoli regarding an offer, and a verbal offer has been placed. This is an offer that honestly I don't want Chelsea to make, purely based on the fact that I feel like we're paying too much for the quality of player that we're getting back. And then the biggest one of all, Omari Hutchinson has a bunch of Chelsea fans upset for saying the truth, and Enzo Fernandez is getting consistently scrutinized for being injured. And I'm going to explain to you why. This new Cucurella inverted role can easily be done by Enzo Fernandez, but yet people are acting like Poch is doing something revolutionary. It really isn't revolutionary. It's actually quite straightforward. I'm going to break it down so all of you can understand. So before we get down to that, I need you guys to do me a massive favor. Hit the like button. We're aiming for 1,000 likes. Number 2, subscribe to the channel because you need to get educated about Chelsea, or you kind of need someone to deliver the news to you firsthand, because let's be honest, who enjoys doing this research and reading? You can come here for 15 minutes. And finally, in the comments below, let me know your thoughts on Christopher Nkunku. Do you think we can trust him next year to stay fit, or do we need to buy somebody to basically make him more of a bench player, but if he's fit, he gets to start? Let's go. So we know that Chelsea haven't had the best season, but since game week 20, Chelsea have been the 4th best team. And look, 16 games is enough of a sample size where you can actually say, look, we're getting the results as well as some performances here and there. David Ornstein has come out, and I think he was on CBS, and he was saying how if Chelsea opt to get rid of Mauricio Pochettino, they will do it under this one condition. They are demanding that they secure Europa League football. Europa League football is imperative for financial reasons. And this, for me, makes sense. Conference League just ain't gonna cut it. And the reality is Conference League opens a can of worms that we don't need to talk about until we're in it, because there might be FFP problems. He also went as far as saying if they get rid of him, Mauricio Pochettino that is, Chelsea Football Club will sack Mauricio, and these 4 managers will not be considered. Number 1, Antonio Conte and Jose Mourinho. That makes sense. For me, that makes sense, purely based on the fact that both managers have a track record of working with senior individuals, and more importantly, are very vocal and outspoken when they don't get things their way. And we know this ownership group doesn't like that. That makes sense. Number 3, sorry, in this case, Hansi Flick. Apparently, Hansi Flick will not be on the list. A lot of you are going to be upset with it. I get it. Hansi Flick has had 18 or 19 months that has been fantastic at Bayern Munich. Prior to that, his last club job was 19 years ago. Football has really moved on, and when you don't have players of the magnitude that he had at Bayern Munich, and you have to do more coaching and more rather than managing, it becomes difficult. And for me, it makes sense why the board would run the other way. And finally, the last name on the list, it hurt me, man. I'm really annoyed. It comes out that Ruben Amorim is not on the list. Chelsea apparently have met with him twice and don't feel like he's the right guy, which is odd to me because Sami Mokbel and other journalists such as Fabrizio Romano have come out and said Chelsea are really keen on it. I'm not saying Ornstein's lying, because Ornstein's very reputable. But it's very interesting to me that initially there were reports coming out that Chelsea paid for a plane, Chelsea are really seriously admiring him, Chelsea like him, Pochettino throws his toys out the pram, and now Ruben Amorim has come out and said, I'm going to stay for another year and I want to win my 3rd title. Maybe they'll reignite the interest later in the window, or maybe they will go and get him next year. But at this moment in time, it is very disappointing that Ruben Amorim's not on that list. Let's move on with the next story. The next story is very interesting in particular because we need a number 9. Well, that's what a lot of people are saying. For me, we either get a number 9 that scores a lot of goals, or we get a left winger that scores a lot of goals. Because the way I want to look at it is, if Jackson gets you 13 again next year, Cole Palmer gets you 20 next year, in the league that is, you need one more guy that can get you 20. And all of a sudden, you've got not just top 4, you've got title contending front line. 50 goals from your front line, very, very good. So this is what Chelsea have to add to their squad next year. A lot of people are saying Victor Osimhen. If you're going to go in for Victor Osimhen, I think this is where it gets very interesting, because I think you need to sell a winger, because then Jackson can do the 9 role and he can do one of the wing roles. However, I don't see Chelsea doing that, purely based on the fact that Mudrik's a long-term investment, Noni's a long-term investment evidently, you're not getting Sterling out, and then Nkunku ain't getting sold because club still believes in him, as they should. And Cole Palmer's our best player, in my personal opinion. So this is where it gets very interesting. The reports are coming out with Fabrizio Romano and other sources from Di Marzio. Chelsea have already made contact with Napoli. The move that they are considering to do is 80 million euros, could go up to 90, Romelu Lukaku and a young player. That for me does not sound right, because I'm going to explain it this way. 80 to 90 million for Victor Osimhen makes sense. Very good player. Romelu Lukaku on top, who I think you lot are going to attack me. I think Rom is just as good as Victor Osimhen. Rom is just as good. On top is more than enough. A young player who most likely will be Cesar Casadei, because his reputation in Italy is massive. They really rate him highly. So for me, this is so interesting to see how it pans out. I am very, very skeptical about spending ridiculously high money on Victor Osimhen. I think Victor Osimhen is a very good player, don't get me wrong, but he scored more than 20 league goals once. And the money we're going to spend on this player, I need more. And he's only played more than 30 games in the league for Napoli once in 4 years. 27, 25 and 22 this year so far. Guys, it's a lot of money to spend on somebody that doesn't consistently give you numbers that are crazy, and more importantly, doesn't stay fit. We already have an issue injury-wise. Do we need another asset like that? I don't know. The story that triggered a lot of people when it came to Omari Hutchinson makes you laugh, right? Because Omari Hutchinson has achieved promotion with Ipswich Town. They lifted a trophy for coming second. Don't get me started on that. But this is where it gets interesting. After the game, Omari said this. He said, I really hope I can stay at Ipswich, but it's up to my agent and my manager. And more importantly, this loan couldn't have gone better without it, right? It was a dream loan. And for me, this is where it gets interesting, because a lot of Chelsea fans took it with offense. Oh my God, how dare he say that? That's so disrespectful to the club. It's not disrespectful to the club. Omari is at the age now where he's 20 years old. He spent last season in Chelsea's reserve. This year, he went on loan and broke into a team that came second in the championship. Next year, he needs to push on. He needs to play first division football. Either Spain, Italy, France, Germany, England. He needs to go and play. He ain't gonna do that at Chelsea. He might be better than Mudryk for some people. He might be better than Noni for some people. But what we know is he will be a bench warmer when he comes into Chelsea initially. And what I also know is he wants to play. This kid is competitive and he's talented. He got the feeling and taste of knowing what it feels like to play on a weekly basis. He went from the bench to earning a starting spot to being undroppable, to be having a team built around it. He's not gonna come and be on the bench. What I think Chelsea should do, loan him out. I don't know whether Ipswich is the right place. The only good thing about Ipswich is he has an inbuilt relationship with the manager. The manager trusts him already and he helped him get promoted. My issue is once Ipswich come to the top, like the top division, they're no longer going to be dominating games the way they were. So they're going to be more counter-attackive, and more importantly, they're going to be more soaking up pressure and surviving. Is this the development you want this kid to get? To learn the intangibles of the game, like the ugly side of the game, rather than opening up defenses. Maybe a loan to Strasbourg, maybe a loan somewhere in Italy or Spain. It's something that we're going to have to explore and look at in another day. But leave the kid alone. He's only being honest, and genuinely, I'm happy that he wants to go and play. Maurizio Pochettino fixed our structure, and all of a sudden we got better. And what happened out of this is Marco Correa's stock has gone through. Marco Correa went from a player that was absolutely rubbish to a player that looks like, oh my God, he's the system to some fans. I'm here to tell you, calm down. First of all, Marco Correa is doing an excellent job. And what he's doing is actually very simple, and Enzo could recreate, Lavia could recreate. I actually think Conor Gallagher could most probably recreate. And I think Carney Chukwuemeka could recreate. So it's nothing that special. What essentially is happening is we go from a 3 at centre-back to 2 players given options on the ball when we're building up play, and then we'll play through the phases. It's not that hard. People are saying, where's Enzo going to play? Guys, this is what's going to happen. You're going to have a Reece James at right back. You're going to have 2 centre-back. You're going to have an actual left back that Chelsea need to invest into, who will hold the width, yeah? And what happens there is, instead of that left back like Cucurella coming in and forming a double pivot, you have Enzo and Caicedo forming that double pivot. What happens from there? Mudryk gets dropped for an Nkunku, who comes in because all of a sudden you have a left winger. Gallagher's not in the team anymore because Cole Palmer's the 10. And you have Noni on the right hand side and you got the number 9 in Jackson. It's not that complicated. People are pretending what Cucurella is doing Enzo can't do. Enzo will be able to do that and then more. The issue that Enzo has was the ground that needed to be covered was so big and we couldn't do it. Even with Gallagher and Caicedo, we struggled to do it. It was until we changed our system to make sure we had 3 centre-backs with 2 in front. So when we lost the ball, teams had to go wide instead of through us. And it delayed the situation and their attack, and all of a sudden players could get back and we could have more of a compact shape. We're just making sure we're difficult to go through. And trust me, Enzo can do that bare minimum. And if anything, then Cucurella doesn't have to run to left back and regain his form, because you'll have a left back who will literally just have to sprint back straight rather than the diagonal that he's going to have to pick the right moment for Cucurella. You've got Enzo, who's a great passer. You're going to have Lavia, who's a great passer and has an engine. You've got Caicedo. We are fine with midfielders. We do not need fullbacks that are going to be doing midfielders' job. That's just my personal opinion. I like Cucurella. I think he's a good player, but I think the praise is getting out of hand. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. I hope you lot enjoyed it. If you want to understand more about Victor Osimhen's strengths and weaknesses, the video's over here. And if you want to get an insight on my thoughts of the 5-0 victory against West Ham, the thoughts are over here. Go watch more Kavkas View, subscribe, and like I said, let's get 1,000 likes. Peace out, I'm out.